In the dense tapestry of African folklore, where spirits dance in the whispering winds and ancient wisdom is carved into the baobab's bark, there lies the tale of Uli. Uli was not born a witch. She was chosen by the unseen forces of her world, her path illuminated by the flickering lights of fate under a star-studded sky. Uli's story begins in a small village cradled by the rolling hills and vast savannas of Africa, where the soil was as red as the blood that coursed through the veins of its people. Here life was a rhythm, punctuated by the beat of the drum and the footsteps of the community as they danced in harmony with nature. Uli was the middle child of 5, born to a mother whose laughter filled the air like music, and a father whose stories of the old days were as captivating as the night sky. From a young age, Uli felt a deep connection to the land, often wandering off into the woods to listen to the tales whispered by the wind through the leaves. It was during one such escapade, under the glow of a full moon, that Uli's fate began to weave itself into the fabric of the extraordinary. She stumbled upon an old woman, cloaked in shadows, murmuring to the night. The woman's eyes, bright as fireflies, locked onto Uli's, and a shiver of recognition ran down her spine. "Child," the old woman said, her voice a blend of warmth and mystery, "you have been walking the path of the unseen without even knowing it. You are marked by the spirits." Uli, both frightened and fascinated, could only nod. The woman, who introduced herself as Nia, was a witch known to the villagers but often kept at a respectful distance due to her mysterious powers. "In you, I see a great potential. Would you like to learn the ways of the old, to speak to the earth and sky, to hold the secrets of the herbs and roots?" Nia asked. The decision was monumental, but Uli felt a pull towards this new uncharted journey. With a mixture of courage and curiosity, she agreed, marking the beginning of her transformation. Naya took Uli under her wing, teaching her to read the signs in the natural world, the way a leaf falls, the pattern of ants on a tree trunk, the flight of birds at dawn. Uli learned that being a witch was not about wielding power over the elements, but about understanding them, becoming one with them, and respecting the balance of life. Each day, Uli's knowledge deepened, as did her connection to the spirits that guided her. She learned to brew potions from the laughter of rivers and the tears of the skies, to weave protection spells from the whispers of the earth, and to commune with the ancestors through the sacred fire. But with great power came great responsibility. Uli realized that her gift was not for personal gain, but to serve her community, to heal, to protect, and to guide. As she grew into her powers, the initial fear that had greeted her choice transformed into respect and admiration from her village. Yet, as is the way with stories of magic and power, darkness loomed on the horizon, a test of Uli's strength and heart. It was a challenge that would not only prove her abilities, but would also reveal the depth of her spirit. This is how Uli's journey into witchcraft began, under the vast African sky, where every star seemed to wink at her, acknowledging her passage into the realm of the unseen. As the first chapter of her life closed, a new one beckoned, ripe with challenges and enshrined in the mystical. As the moon waned into a sliver of silver light, Uli's understanding of the ancient arts deepened under Nia's meticulous tutelage. Each encounter with the natural world offered new insights and secrets, spoken in the hushed tones of the earth. Her senses sharpened, allowing her to perceive the subtle vibrations of the land and the quiet conversations between the flora and fauna. One evening, as twilight merged the day into night, a disturbing silence fell over the village. The usual chorus of nocturnal creatures stilled, and an uneasy feeling crept into Uli's heart. Nia, sensing the shift through the bones of the earth, turned to Uli, her eyes reflecting the seriousness of the moment. "This stillness," Nia whispered, "is an omen. The spirits are restless tonight. Something prowls at the edges of our world, a darkness that seeks to seep into the roots of our land." Armed with her burgeoning skills and the courage that had been kindled in the core of her being, Uli followed Nia to the edge of the village, where the grass met the wild embrace of the jungle. There, the air thickened, and a faint, almost imperceptible mist began to rise from the ground, swirling around their ankles. "Watch and learn," Nia instructed, her voice barely above a murmur as she drew symbols in the dirt with a stick. Uli observed intently, committing each stroke to memory, understanding that these symbols were a language of protection, ancient and powerful. As they chanted softly, the ground beneath them vibrated with the energy of their words, and the mist began to dissipate, revealing a large python, its scales shimmering in the moonlight. The creature's eyes held a glint of unnatural intelligence, a sign that it was a spirit animal, a guide or a guardian perhaps, but corrupted by the creeping darkness they sensed. "Speak to it, Uli," Nia urged. "Use the tongue of the whispering winds." Uli stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached out with her mind, speaking in the silent language of the winds. The python shifted, its body coiling and uncoiling as if wrestling with an invisible foe. Slowly, the dark glint in its eyes faded, replaced by a clear light, like that of a star freed from the clouds. "You have restored balance," Nia said, her voice filled with pride. "But remember, each victory is but a moment in the ceaseless cycle of nature. There will be more tests." The nights that followed were filled with learning and understanding. Uli not only mastered the art of speaking with animals, but also learned to listen to the stones and the streams. Her dreams were vivid, visited by ancestors who shared stories of the old ways and secrets long buried under the roots of mighty trees. One dream, however, stood distinct from the rest. An elder, his face lined with the maps of countless moons, spoke of a hidden grove, sacred and powerful, known only to those who wielded the magic of the old. This grove, he revealed, held the heart of the land, pulsing with a power that could either heal or devastate. Uli awoke from the dream with a new purpose. She knew she must find this grove not only to harness its power, but to protect it from those who might seek to abuse it. As the sun rose, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Uli met Nia at the break of dawn. Without speaking, for no words were needed, they both understood that the next phase of Uli's unfolding path was about to begin, deeper into the embrace of the whispering woods. As the new day dawned, casting long shadows over the village, Uli and Nia prepared for the expedition deeper into the domain of ancient spirits and hidden realms. The air was thick with the scent of rain on the horizon, a reminder of nature's ever-present pulse. They set off at sunrise, their feet treading softly on the path that wound its way through towering trees and thick underbrush. The forest seemed to watch them, ancient trees whispering secrets of the ages. Birds sang from hidden perches, their melodies a complex tapestry of sounds that Uli had learned to interpret as omens. The deeper they ventured, the more palpable the power of the land became. Uli felt it humming through her veins, a song of earth and air that resonated with the newfound knowledge in her heart. Nia moved with a quiet confidence, her eyes scanning the environment, reading every shift in the wind and rustle in the undergrowth. Their journey was punctuated by lessons as Nia pointed out herbs that could heal or harm, explaining their uses with a reverence for the balance of life. Uli absorbed each word, each leaf and root becoming a part of the arsenal she would carry forward. Midway through the day, as the sun hung heavy in the sky, they encountered a river, its waters clear and swift. Here Nia halted, her gaze fixed on the opposite bank. "The water speaks of disruption upstream," she noted. "Listen, Uli, what does it tell you?" Closing her eyes, Uli reached out with her senses. The river's voice was troubled, murmuring of unnatural darkness clotting its veins further toward its source. "We follow the river," Uli decided, her voice firm with the authority of her training. Nia nodded, and they adjusted their route, now shadowing the river's course. The landscape grew wilder, the vegetation denser. Thorns tugged at their clothing, and insects buzzed around them in persistent clouds. Yet Uli felt a strange exhilaration, a connection to the land that grew with every step. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, coloring the sky with fiery streaks, they came upon a clearing. At its center stood an ancient fig tree, its roots sprawling like a network of serpents across the ground. The air around the tree shimmered slightly, a sign of the sacred magic that saturated the grove. "This is the heart," Nia whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the earth. Uli approached the tree, her hands outstretched. As her fingers brushed the bark, visions flooded her mind, centuries of growth, of seasons turning, and the slow dance of the stars overhead. The tree was a keeper of memories, holding within it the essence of the land's history and its deepest magic. Suddenly, the air shifted, a cold breeze slicing through the warmth. Shadows at the edge of the clearing moved, coalescing into forms both menacing and desperate. Spirits, corrupted by the same darkness that had once claimed the python, emerged from the undergrowth, their forms flickering between this world and another. Naya stepped forward, her presence a barrier between Uli and the advancing shadows. These spirits are lost, caught between realms. They need guidance to return to the balance. This is your test, Uli. Drawing a deep breath, Uli centered herself, calling upon every lesson, every whisper of the wind and rustle of the leaves she had learned to interpret. She reached out, not with her hands, but with her spirit, offering solace and a path back to harmony. The confrontation was silent, a battle of wills and magic, as Uli coaxed and soothed, her voice a soothing balm to the tortured spirits. One by one, they began to fade, their forms dissolving into the growing night, leaving the air clearer, the magic of the grove once again serene. As darkness enveloped the world, Uli and Nia prepared to spend the night under the ancient fig tree, the heart of the land once again at peace, if only for a moment. The lessons of the day lingered in Uli's mind, each one a stepping stone deeper into the mysteries she was born to unravel. Under the canopy of the night sky, speckled with countless stars, Uli and Nia rested within the sanctuary of the ancient fig tree's embrace. The air, cleansed from the turmoil of the lingering spirits, filled their lungs with renewed life. As they settled beneath the vast branches, the nocturnal symphony of the forest resumed, a lullaby woven from cricket calls and the distant howl of a night predator. The fire they kindled crackled softly, casting flickering shadows across their faces. Uli's mind, alight with the events of the day, mulled over the spirits she had calmed. Each one had whispered secrets of the forest, fragments of knowledge that now formed a tapestry of understanding in her mind. Nia, watching Uli's contemplative gaze into the flames, spoke softly. "The land speaks in many tongues. You have begun to master its languages, a feat not just of skill but of heart. Remember, the most profound strength lies in compassion and understanding." As dawn approached, heralded by a choir of birds, they doused their fire and prepared to leave the grove. The fig tree seemed to acknowledge their departure with a gentle rustling of leaves, a farewell graced with the wisdom of ages. Their path took a new turn, following a ridge that offered views of the expansive forest stretching out like a green ocean. Here, the terrain was challenging, the incline steep and the rocks underfoot slick with dew. Uli's legs grew stronger with each step, her balance more sure as she navigated the narrow trails. By midday, they reached a plateau where the earth seemed to touch the sky. Here, Nia stopped and gathered herbs, their leaves vibrant against the muted colors of the rock. "These are rare," she explained, handing some to Uli. "They grow only where the earth sings in harmony with the sky." As they continued, the air grew cooler. The sun's rays filtered through a high canopy. The sounds of the forest changed too, a deeper tone to the birdsong, a rustle of larger creatures in the underbrush. Uli's senses tingled with the awareness of being watched. Nia sensed it too and paused, her hand raised for silence. Through the trees, barely visible, were the outlines of figures, tall, elegant beings, their eyes reflecting the light like those of a cat. "The Eluran tribe," Nia breathed, a note of reverence in her voice. "Guardians of the forest's secrets, rarely seen by outsiders." Uli held her breath, feeling the weight of their gaze. The Eluran, as if deciding they were no threat, melted back into the forest, leaving only a whisper of their presence. "They test all who walk these lands," Nia murmured as they moved on. "We passed, not by force, but by the peace in our intent." Late in the afternoon, they arrived at a village, different from Uli's own, yet with the same heartbeat of community life. Here, they were welcomed with curiosity and hospitality. The village healer, an old man with eyes as deep as the night, invited them to share in a meal. Around the fire, the villagers listened intently as Nia spoke of their travels. Uli, observing their faces lit by firelight, felt a connection, an unspoken bond forged by shared stories and mutual respect for the land. That night, as Uli lay in the guest hut, the walls whispering with the voices of the past occupants, her thoughts returned to the Eluran. What wisdom did they guard? What lessons could she learn from such elusive protectors of the forest? With these thoughts spiraling in her dreams, Uli slept, the gentle rhythms of the village lulling her deeper into the mystery that wrapped around her life, like the vines around the trees outside. Morning arrived with a soft golden hue, filtering through the woven roof of the hut where Uli rested. The village awoke to the sound of roosters announcing the dawn, and the air filled with the scent of wood smoke and brewing tea. Uli rose, her body refreshed, yet her mind teeming with the vivid dreams of the night. She stepped outside to find the village already buzzing with activity. Children chased each other around the huts, and women carried baskets laden with fruits and grains to a communal area. The old healer, who had welcomed them the previous evening, approached her with a gentle smile. "Today you will join me," he said, gesturing for Uli to follow him to a small hut set slightly apart from the rest. Inside, the walls were lined with jars of herbs and roots, each labeled with symbols that Uli was beginning to recognize. The air was thick with the aroma of dried plants and earth. The healer, noticing her interest, explained, "These are our medicines, our protection. Each one is more than just a remedy. It is a connection to the earth and our ancestors. You have a gift, Uli. Here, you can learn how we preserve this connection." Uli spent the day by the healer's side, learning the properties of each herb and how to combine them for healing balms and invigorating elixirs. Her hands moved with newfound confidence, guided by the knowledge that each creation was a thread in the larger fabric of her people's survival and well-being. As the sun reached its zenith, the healer brought out a special jar, its contents hidden by a dark cloth. "This," he said, uncovering it, "is sacred to our people. Made from the rarest herbs, it connects us directly to the spirits of our ancestors during the festival of the harvest moon." Intrigued, Uli watched as the healer demonstrated the ritual of preparing the mixture. The respect and care he showed for the process were a testament to its importance to the community's spiritual life. Later, as the sky painted itself with the blush of dusk, Uli joined the villagers at a gathering where stories of the ancestors were shared. Each tale was a piece of history, alive with the triumphs and trials of generations past. Uli listened, her heart swelling with the sense of belonging and an understanding of the deep roots that connected these people to each other, to the land, and to the spirits that watched over them. As the storytelling session came to an end, a group of elders approached her. One of them, a woman with lines of wisdom etched deeply into her face, spoke. "You carry a great power, Uli, but with it comes the responsibility to bridge the worlds of the seen and unseen. Our stories are not just for remembering, they are for teaching." The fire crackled, casting a warm glow over the faces of the elders. They each touched Uli's shoulder, a gesture of acceptance and blessing. It was a profound moment for Uli, feeling the weight of her path, not just as a healer or a guardian of nature, but as a keeper of stories and traditions. That night under the stars, Uli pondered the journey ahead. Each village, each encounter was a step toward a greater understanding of her role in the tapestry of life. The ancient rhythms of the earth sang to her in her dreams, a melody of whispers and echoes, each note a memory of the past, guiding her to her next destination. As dawn brushed the sky with strokes of pink and orange, Uli bid farewell to the village that had embraced her. With Nia at her side, they ventured forth, following a path that wound through fields where the earth was freshly turned and rich with promise. The landscape shifted as they traveled, the fertile plains giving way to a region dotted with baobab trees, their massive trunks and sprawling branches standing like sentinels over the land. Here the air held a dry crispness, a prelude to the arid lands that lay ahead. Their travels led them to a crossroad, marked by a large stone painted with symbols that spoke of trade routes and territories beyond. Nia paused, her eyes tracing the lines and shapes that told stories of connections between different peoples and lands. "Each path holds its own tales," Nia said, pointing to the northern route, which was bordered by towering grasses and sporadic clusters of acacia trees. "We will meet the Myomba people, known for their crafts and deep knowledge of the stars." The walk was long, and the sun traveled across the sky, casting its heat upon the land. By late afternoon, they reached a village where the houses were round, with thatched roofs that swooped down almost to the ground. The Myomba welcomed them with gestures of hospitality, offering water and a place to rest in the shade of a large baobab. In this village, craft was intertwined with daily life. Men and women sat outside their homes, weaving baskets and carving wood with skills passed down through countless generations. Uli watched, fascinated, as a craftsman worked a piece of wood into the shape of a bird, its wings poised as if caught mid-flight. The Myomba believed that objects carried the spirit of both the maker and the material, explained a villager, noticing Uli's interest. Each creation is a prayer, a hope, and a story. As the evening approached, the village elder invited Uli and Nia to join a gathering under the stars. The elder, a man whose age was evident in his slow but deliberate movements, spoke of the stars as guides and storytellers. "Look up," he urged, pointing to the sky where the crescent moon hung like a silver bow. "The stars are our ancestors' eyes. They watch over us, guide us, and remind us that we are part of a vast universe." Uli listened intently as the elder mapped the sky with stories, each constellation a chapter of their history and cosmology. His words painted pictures in her mind of great journeys, not of distances traveled, but of spirits soaring through the cosmos, learning from the celestial bodies. When the storytelling ended, the night was alive with whispers of wind and the occasional call of a night creature. Uli lay awake, pondering the elder's words. Her understanding of the world was expanding, each experience layering upon the last, forming a complex web of wisdom and knowledge. Her dreams that night were filled with stars and flights of birds, each wing beat a drumbeat of the earth's heart. She awoke with a sense of clarity, ready to embrace the teachings of the new day, eager to see where the path would lead them next as they continued to explore the rich tapestry of lands and cultures under the watchful eyes of their celestial ancestors. With the first light seeping through the horizon, Uli and Nia departed from the Myomba village, their spirits nourished by the wisdom of the stars. The path ahead was draped in the soft glow of dawn, casting long shadows on the earth as they made their way through the awakening landscape. As they walked, the air filled with the morning calls of birds, a symphony that marked the beginning of a new day. The terrain gradually changed, the flat expanses giving way to gently rolling hills. Here, wildflowers dotted the grasses and bees hummed busily among the blooms, collecting nectar for their hidden hives. Their route took them through a narrow pass between two hills, where the rocks were streaked with colors from minerals long embedded in the earth. Nia stopped, her hands tracing the lines in the stone. "These are ancient, formed when the world was young," she explained. "They tell a story of fire and water, of the earth's deep dances." Continuing their ascent, they reached a vantage point from which the land stretched out in a patchwork of greens and browns. Below, nestled in a valley, was their next destination, a village known for its healers, a place where the medicinal knowledge of the earth was said to be profound. As they descended into the valley, the scent of herbs and blooming trees grew stronger. The village was alive with activity, children playing among the huts, and healers tending to their gardens of healing plants. Uli's eyes were drawn to the vibrant colors of the flowers, each one seemingly pulsating with life. A healer, noticing their arrival, greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome, travelers. I am called Dio," he said, leading them into the heart of the village. "You come at a time of preparation. Tomorrow we celebrate the festival of renewal, where we honor the healing powers of the earth." Uli and Nia were invited to participate in the preparations. Uli found herself drawn to a group of women preparing herbal concoctions. They moved with practiced grace, their hands skilled in the art of mixing and blending. "Each herb has a spirit," one of the women shared, as she carefully ground leaves into a fine powder. "When we mix them, we are asking these spirits to work together, to harmonize their energies for healing." The day passed with Uli learning the delicate balances required in their preparations, absorbing each lesson with a keen interest. As evening approached, the village gathered around a large fire in the center of the village square. The fire crackled and sparked, casting a warm glow over the faces of the villagers. Dio stood by the fire, his voice rising in a chant that was both a calling and a blessing. Uli watched, her heart beating in rhythm with the drumbeats that filled the air, her mind echoing with the profound connection of the people to the land that sustained them. As the stars began to appear, twinkling softly in the night sky, the villagers shared tales of healers past, stories that wove through generations, each one a thread in the fabric of their collective history. Uli listened, her soul touched by the depth of their connection to the earth and each other. That night, as she lay beneath a blanket of stars, Uli felt a deep peace settle within her. The land whispered secrets of growth and renewal, and she felt her own spirit intertwine with the ongoing cycle of life and healing. The festival awaited them at dawn, promising a day of celebration, reflection, and deep communal magic, revealing the endless weave of giving and receiving that defined their lives. As the first blush of dawn painted the sky, the village stirred into a flurry of activity. Today was the festival of renewal, a celebration deeply rooted in the cycles of the earth and its endless bounty. Uli rose, feeling the energy of the village pulse around her, each heartbeat a reflection of the land's vibrant life force. The festival began with a procession through the village. Uli and Nia joined the line of villagers, each carrying offerings of herbs, flowers, and fruits. The air was rich with the scents of rosemary, lavender, and citrus, mingling into a tapestry of aromas that danced on the morning breeze. At the center of the village, a great circle had been formed with stones, and within it, a mound of earth awaited the offerings. Dio, the healer, stood beside the mound, his hands raised to the sky as he invoked the blessings of the earth and the ancestors. "Today, we return to the earth what she has given us," Dio proclaimed, his voice carrying over the gathered crowd. "In this cycle, we find healing, growth, and the strength to carry forward." One by one, the villagers stepped forward, placing their offerings on the mound. When it was Uli's turn, she knelt and placed a mixture of herbs she had prepared the day before, her mind filled with gratitude for the lessons and experiences that had guided her here. The ceremony continued with singing and dancing, the villagers moving in a rhythm that mimicked the undulating hills and flowing rivers of their homeland. Drums beat in a tempo that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the earth itself, pulling everyone into a shared experience of joy and reverence. As the celebration unfolded, Uli felt an overwhelming connection to everything around her, the people, the land, the sky above. It was as if all the threads of her experiences were weaving together, forming a pattern that spoke of a deeper understanding of her place in the world. Later, as the sun reached its zenith, the festival culminated in a communal feast. Tables laden with food prepared from the crops grown in the village's fields were shared among all. Laughter and stories flowed freely, each exchange strengthening the bonds within the community. Nia, watching Uli interact with the villagers, leaned in and whispered, "You have grown, not just in knowledge but in spirit. The path you walk is one of great power and responsibility, but also of profound connection." As the day faded into evening, and the sky turned a deep violet, the villagers gathered once more around the fire. This time, Dio invited Uli to speak. Standing by the fire, looking into the faces of those gathered, Uli felt a surge of confidence. "I came here as a learner, seeking wisdom from the earth and from those who live in harmony with it," Uli began, her voice steady and clear. "What I found was more than knowledge. I found a community, a sense of belonging to something much larger than myself." She continued, "The land speaks, and its voice is heard in the whisper of the wind, in the flow of the river, and in the crackle of the fire. We are all connected, and in this connection, we find the true magic of life." The villagers listened, moved by her words. When she finished, they erupted into applause, a celebration not just of her speech, but of the shared truths she had articulated. That night, as Uli lay under the stars once more, she felt a contentment that was deep and full. Her travels had brought her here, to this moment under the vast African sky, surrounded by new friends and a newfound family. The land whispered its secrets, and she listened, a guardian of its ancient wisdom, ready to share its stories wherever the winds might carry her next.